everybody, Fiber Spider back again in the kitchen for another video for you. So today we are going to be making bread. No yeast bread, which means no waiting, no fuss, no muss with rising times and all that curmudgeon-y stuff in the kitchen. No, we are going to be making no yeast bread, and it is remarkably simple. It's very quick too, and it is tasty. Yes. Now, a little bit of a backstory. Okay, so I was looking through no yeast recipes for bread, and the first one I came across was for a sandwich bread recipe. It tasted good. It rose well. It browned. It was pretty. It was tasty. However, it was extremely fragile. I tried toasting it. It fell apart. So, through more experimenting and more searching, I found another recipe, which is what we're going to be doing today with a slight alteration to it. I followed the instructions exactly, and it looked severely anemic. Yes, it looked pale as a ghost. So we have a trick that we're going to use in order to give it a little bit of life, a little bit of golden brown color, and I think you guys are going to really like it. So for this recipe, it's very, very simple. You only need a few ingredients: flour, water, baking powder. That's the bit of a rising agent in there. Salt and sugar. It's very simple. And the secret ingredient for the lovely golden brown color, an egg yolk. Yep, a little bit of research, and that's what I came up with. So that's what we're going with. And without further ado, let's get started. Hi there. All right, so first thing that you're going to want to do is actually preheat your oven to 425. Because it takes a while to get there, and this works up really, really fast. So let's get to it. You are going to need 2 cups of flour. All-purpose flour is just fine. That's what I've been using. I imagine you could use bread flour. If you use self-rising flour, then you might not need to use the baking powder. So for all intents and purposes, all-purpose is what we're going with today. So we've got 1 cup. And 2. Now, I'm going to leave the flour out because I very well may need it later to work with the dough. So I'm going to leave this over to the side here. Next item. Okay, we are going to need half of a teaspoon of regular salt. Okay. Then half of a teaspoon of sugar. And then 2 full teaspoons of baking powder. There we go. And that is it as far as the dry ingredients are concerned. Okay, so going to give these a good mix. Nothing major, nothing severe. I could use a whisk, but honestly, I'm not a fan of whisks. What can I say? I like my spurtle. Okay, so now to this, we're going to need to add 3/4 of a cup of warm water. So let me get that. Now, I will never say that I'm an expert at anything, especially not in the kitchen. I believe that, some people would argue that, you should add a little bit of water at a time and then, see if the dough is at the right consistency. Me, personally, this is my method. Yeah, that's my method. And then just going to mix all of the water in with the flour. Generally, it hasn't really been an issue or a problem whatsoever. So just mixing this all together, and then invariably you end up with a bit of a sticky dough. And you just add a little bit of flour at a time as you knead it in, and that has worked for me. Now, I'm sure that I'm going to get some comments on this, and that's okay, but please, I stress please, if you're going to leave criticism, please let it be constructive. I'm totally down with criticism as long as it's constructive. If you want to teach me something, great. If you want to knock me down a peg or two, please be nice. Okay, so this is essentially mixed together. Now going to do a bit of kneading. And yes, this is a bit shaggy and a bit sticky, but it has come together pretty nicely as far as the dough is concerned. Just want to get those crumbly bits kneaded in. And I'm not doing this on my countertop because I don't want to have yet another thing to clean up, quite frankly. So I found that, kneading the dough in the bowl, it works just fine. For what we're making, I mean, this is not an artisan loaf, okay? It's rustic, it's homemade, it does what it's supposed to do. It tastes good, it's nourishing, suits me fine. So just sprinkling on a little bit more flour, a little helter-skelter, if you will. And just knead it in. I'm not about to say that this will win me any prizes, but it has fed me, and that is kind of the point. I made grilled cheese sandwiches with this, and it was absolutely lovely. A slice or two with some butter smeared on top. It is awesome. And I believe we are just about there as far as the kneading is concerned. Could use a little bit more flour, I think. Other than that, it is pretty good. Yeah, very nice. So we have our dough. So now just going to more or less form it into essentially a loaf. Let me get these things out of the way. Scoot this over here so you can see better. So essentially a loaf shape, nothing too schmancy. I'm not doing any braiding or anything like that. Just a simple loaf shape. All right, so now for the final preparations, and I will see you in just a moment. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. All right, so we have our loaf. It is almost ready. Now, I have an egg here, and just going to do the yolk. So I need to separate these. There we are. A bit messy. Alright, so just gotta separate the mucus from the yolk. There we are. There we go. I know that I should probably save the whites, but I really don't have anything to use them for at present, so there we go. So this is just the yolk. Give it a little mix so it's nice and fluid. Now, we have our wash ready. However, what we need to do first is slice this sucker open. Now, the reason why is because if you don't put slices in the top of your loaf, it will get deformed. It will explode. It will rupture. It's something that I've come in contact with on a number of these. You know, this is not my first day at the rodeo. So what you're going to want to do is give it a few relatively deep slices so that it has a chance to expand once it starts baking. So, you know, you don't want to go like all the way down, but you want to give it a good substantial slice. As you can see. Just a nice drag with a semi-serrated blade. And so we've got our cuts there, and that will really, really help. You know, there will, of course, be some rupturing of the bread. I mean, that's kind of unavoidable, but this does help. So now, I'm going to give a wash all over our bread here. And trust me, you want to do this. You will thank me later if you do this. So just going to brush on our egg yolk all over. Give it a nice, healthy coating. You know, the initial recipe that I was following did not call for using any sort of wash or glaze or anything like that. And I was wondering, am I doing something wrong? But, you know, because they didn't mention it in the recipe. Their picture looked a lot nicer than what I was coming out with, let me tell you. But after I tried this just last night, I was so pleased with the results that I'm like, you know what? I feel confident that I can do a video on it. So here we are. Ah. The preheating is ready, which is good because we are just about done anyway. Now, if you can get some of the egg yolk into the cracks, that helps. You know, I would say it's not crucial, but it does create a bit of an aesthetically pleasant look once it has baked. Because otherwise, if you don't get any of the yolk inside of the cracks, when it bakes, the interior of the cracks are going to be stark white. Okay? I'm just letting you know now based on my experience. You really want to cover this thing. And again, thank God for parchment paper, right? Am I right or am I right? In this instance, I think I'm right. Okay, and I think we are just about ready for baking. Just want to make sure I get those divots. There is the expression, less is more. In this case, I would say more is great. All right, I think we're good. Okay, so the oven is already preheated to 425. Gonna pop this in for 20 minutes. There we go. Set my timer. And start. There we go. Okie dokie. So here's the dealio. So for 20 minutes, it's going to be baking at 425. Then, after 20 minutes, I'm going to leave it in the oven. I'm not going to take it out. I'm going to leave the bread in the oven and lower the temperature down to 350, and then let it continue to bake for another 15 minutes. And then we get to take it out and put it on a baking rack and admire a thing of beauty. So I will see you in about 35 minutes, and I will catch you soon. Alrighty. And now for the moment of truth, my dears. Alright, gonna pop this out of the oven. Hot stuff. Da, da, da. We have ourselves a cute little loaf of bread. Some bready goodness. All right, so while I still have the glove on, I'll just transfer it over to my cooling rack here. Now, what I was saying before about being sure to add the slits, it did help. Although, yes, we did have a bit of a rupture on this side, as you can see. Now, it's just, I guess it's just the nature of the beast that you are going to have some rupturing involved. As long as it's not a rupturing of your intestines, it's not a bad thing. You know, it's just, it has that rustic aesthetic to it, but the golden brown color is thanks to the egg yolk wash, glaze, what have you, and I think it looks absolutely scrumptious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it cool completely, and then we are going to do a little bit of slicing and a little bit of buttering perhaps, and a taste test. So I will see you when this has cooled off, and see you in a bit. Alrighty, my dears, so now for the moment of truth. We have waited, and now we can reap the rewards. Have a little bit of bread. I am so excited. This looks so awesome. I am delighted. Now, yes, granted, on this side, there was a bit of a rupture, but we're going to be eating it. You know, this is not, you know, a fashion show. So, going to do a little bit of slicey. And you know what? The odd thing is that typically with a loaf of bread, the last thing I have any interest in is eating the heel, the very end of the bread. This, however, it is so good. The crust, really good. So I'm going to do a few slices here because I'm going to eat more than one, naturally. There we go. So as you can see, this is the interior of the loaf. Now, of course, it doesn't have a lot of air bubbles in there because we did not use yeast, which produces those air bubbles. But it did have some nice rise to it compared to when we first put it in. And so I've got my two little slices here and here. It's such a lovely color. I can't get over the difference. It makes a difference using that egg wash. Seriously. So I'm just going to enjoy this with a little bit of butter. And do-do-do. Bon appetit. Oh, mm, mm. It's got some nice chew to it. It's not gummy because I let it cool down. It's flavorful. It's simple. I'm absolutely loving this. Mm, mm, mm. Very, very, very delish. Now, let me show you how it looks when I do sort of like a pulling apart, if you will. It does have some substance to it, you know. The first bread that I had made, the sandwich bread, if you looked at it funny, it would rip. This one though, it has more substance to it. Really, really good. Mm. And the crust. Mm. Mm. So I would say possible uses. I mean, of course, um, it's not your typical sandwich bread size. However, I think it would make an awesome club sandwich. Grilled cheese, French toast, bruschetta, um, garlic bread, a little bit of bread and butter. You know, having a little soup. You know, a little salad. I it would be a great accompaniment to any dinner. I think it's awesome. And like I said before, it is so easy and so quick. Start to finish, less than an hour, ingredients that you probably already have in your kitchen, and it's, it's really simple. I can't say it enough. And this will definitely be a staple in my kitchen for quite a while, I imagine. Excuse me. So, have you made bread before? Have you made specifically no yeast bread before? What were your results? What did you do that was similar? What did you do that was different? I'm always curious about input and feedback and criticism as long as it's constructive. Please be gentle with me. Now, as I've always said, I am not an expert. I'm an interested novice, but I am no expert, and I'm always learning new things. I'm sure that I could work on my kneading technique and so on and so forth. Yeah, I'm sure I can. If you have any hints, suggestions, sure, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you liked this video, I loved making this video. Granted, this was like my sixth, seventh loaf. Um, um, hey, practice makes perfect. Um, if you like this video, please give a little thumbs up button down below because you know that I appreciate your appreciation. And until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.